Welcome to a demonstration on how to submit an inventory online through the MTCA's eServices website. This demonstration will explain post-data entry steps, including submittal, as well as some additional optional functions. We'll be showing users how to validate their inventory to check for errors, where they can review their data prior to submitting the inventory and then submitting the inventory. Also, we'll be covering some features under the Manage Emission Inventory section, including viewing your copy of record, viewing authorized users, granting someone the prepare role, or revoking somebody's prepare role, and then also how to delete your draft submittal if necessary. A couple things to point out before getting into the demonstration is to highlight that the website I'm using for this demonstration is a test site, so that's why you see the word test at the top of the page, but then also you'll see some additional links here that you will not see when you're logged into your account. The link at the bottom of the page you won't see, and then also the link for reviewing your summary report. We only make that visible during the review period in the fall. Also, if you are not the submitter for any facility, only the preparer, you will not see the link for Submit Emission Inventory or the link for Grant Preparer Role. So as long as you are a preparer or a submitter for at least one facility, you should see the rest of the links. So once you're confident that your data has been entered correctly and is ready for submittal, you would go to Validate Emission Inventory prior to submittal. Select your facility and check Validate. This is checking for any errors that may have been made during data entry. In this example, several pollutants are listed, and the message, this is not an error message, this is an alert message that we added. And the reason we added this is because every year we receive several submittals where the data did not change from the previous year. So what this alert is telling you is that facility total emissions are the same as your previous year. Update emissions on inventory if needed. So it'll list all the pollutants that the emissions remain the same as your previous year's inventory. If that's correct, you can continue. If it's incorrect, make sure you go back and update that data to reflect your current reporting year's data. So this is just an alert. This will not prevent you from submitting or validating. If you click validate a second time, it would then list any errors, any data entry errors that you may have. In this case, there are no errors and you're ready for submittal. But before you submit, one other recommended step is to review your emission inventory. And this link will provide the option for you to review it in spreadsheet format. So if you click download, you will get a spreadsheet in this format, which is in the same format as what you'll see your copy of record. There's several tabs on this spreadsheet. It shows the data for your facility, your contact information, and please make sure you update the contact information so we're able to notify the facility of any upcoming air emission inventory related messages. There's also a tab for emission units and emission processes, any control equipment you may have and how that's connected to emission units, any release points and how those are connected to emission units, and finally a tab for your emissions. Not all of these tabs may apply to your specific facility. This is a format used for all facilities, so some of them may not apply to your facility. Once you've reviewed your data and validated your data, you're ready for submittal. You click on Submit Emission Inventory, select your facility, and the page that comes up has a certification statement which has a list of criteria that you must meet in order to be the considered an authorized submitter for the air emission inventory. Below that is a document list. The document that you would want to look at is the human readable data document, which is the same spreadsheet we just looked at under the review section. It's just another chance for you to review it. And finally, if you're confident the data is correct and ready to be submitted, enter your password and answer your challenge question and click submit. And again, you'll see this alert message again for the no change in emissions. And this alert is provided here for those facilities that choose to not do the validation step and go directly to submit, or if a submitter has had everything prepared for the facility and just comes directly to the submit section, they will get this alert just so they're aware that the data has not been changed from the previous year's submittal. If the data needs to be changed, please go back and change it. Otherwise, you can push through and submit. And if the submittal is successful, the screen will change and say you have successfully submitted your inventory. You should also receive within a few minutes a confirmation email stating that your inventory was successfully submitted. If for some reason you do not see an email within a couple of minutes, it's recommended to check your spam or junk mail. And if it's not there, then it's recommended to check your computer security or your network's security settings, as sometimes those will prevent our emails from reaching you. Some additional features that I wanted to highlight are under the Manage Emission Inventory Submittal section. The View Copy of Record is handy in case, for example, you did not receive a confirmation email after your submittal and you're not 100% sure we received it. You can always check under View Copy of Record. And this has a copy of record for any electronic submittal you've made since the electronic reporting began. Simply click on the confirmation number and you'll want to open the human readable data document, and as mentioned before, that is the exact same as the review spreadsheet, and all the information here is what is going to end up in our database. This is the data that we get, so that's a nice feature in case you're not sure if we received your inventory. Also under the Manage Emission Inventory section is the View Authorized Users. If you're not sure who's been granted access to your facility's data, this is a good place to look. It lists the person's role and all the people identified for the facility you submitted, or any facility that you have access to. You'll see the submitters listed for those facilities. If you are a submitter and want to give someone access to your facility's data, you would go to the grant preparer role, select the facility you want them to have access to, and enter their account number and their email address. Or if there's somebody on the authorized list that you do not want on there anymore, select the facility under Revoke Preparer role and click on the person's account number and then just click Revoke Role. Revoke Role would also be needed if you are a preparer for a facility that you want to become the submitter for. You first would need to revoke your role as a preparer. So that can also be handy for that. Finally is the Delete Draft Submittal option. If you began the data entry and made some mistakes, or if you just want to start fresh, then you would delete your draft submittal. And it's simply pushing the delete button, but just make sure that you know so the data will revert back to your previous submittal. So the data that you submitted either the previous reporting year or earlier in the current reporting year is what the data will revert back to. Any data that has not yet been submitted will be deleted. So this concludes the overview of the submittal process and some additional features associated with accessing your facility's data and submittal.